outset, before any of the YouTube typists that may be of a different worldview have a field day on me with this particular video. This video, admittedly, is more speculative than anything else I've done. That being said, I do believe there is something to what we're about to delve into. So stay tuned until the end so that you can hear the entire thought. If this is your first time here, make sure and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a video or an interview. Our goal is to help you enter into a confirmed, confident, and eternal relationship with the source of all life and purpose. Why do so many products attempt to sell us on making us stay young forever or having youthful abilities well into old age? Why are hair growth commercials for people like me who are balding so common? Or Viagra or Cialis commercials so that men can perform like young people as long as they are alive? Why do some commercials appeal to the child in you as an adult? Why is plastic surgery on the rise, which can make people look younger or look completely different? What is it that makes people long to be alive here on Earth forever, or at least for a longer time? Kids want to be adults until eventually adults want to be kids again. Someone once said that youth is wasted on the young. I kind of agree. If only we could know what we knew at 40 years old when we were 20 years old. Is there a purpose attached to this life that people are seeking to fulfill and they don't want to miss out on it? And without knowing the purpose of life or knowing if life has a purpose, it's difficult to see the benefits of appearing youthful forever. Do people feel they need more time to accomplish their purpose? Or is this desire based more on vanity? Almost as long as humans have existed, they have probably wondered about why they are here and to what purpose their lives should be directed. What is it in us, humans specifically, that seems to have a desire, or at the very least the thought about life's meaning, and if there is something after here that could undergird that meaning? Raymond Lull, an apologist in the Middle Ages, wrote in the Book of the Gentile and the Three Wise Men, "The goodness of God is eternal, and the eternity of God is the goodness of God. Now, since eternity is a much greater good than something that is not eternal, if God has created man's body to be everlasting, there is even greater goodness in the purpose, that is to say, the reason for which God created the human body, than would exist if the body had an end, that is to say, non-being, after which it did not exist. This being the case, if man's body rises up again and lasts forever after the resurrection, God's goodness and eternity will be exhibited in greater nobility and in greater results. And since, according to the conditions of the trees, one should attribute greater nobility to God, therefore it necessarily follows, according to divine eternal influence, that through that influence there come grace and blessing to the human body, by which it may achieve resurrection and be everlasting to the end of time." A proper eschatology, or a proper understanding of end times, should free us to live more boldly and with more hope, not less. When we realize that this life on earth is but a blip on the timeline of eternity. It is possible to believe that technology and medical advancements can help you to live long enough and well enough that your life will be better and more fulfilled. However, depending upon one's worldview, these alterations and advancements may not have the effect that they desire. Once you look how you want to look, or have what you want to have, the next question one may ask is, okay, now what? And eventually, if we think it through, the ultimate now what is nothing. G.K. Chesterton said, "It is always simple to fall. There are an infinity of angles at which one falls, only one at which one stands." To have fallen into any one of the fads from Gnosticism to Christian Science would indeed have been obvious and tame, but to have avoided them all has been one whirling adventure. And in my vision, the heavenly chariot flies thundering through the ages, the dull heresies sprawling and prostrate, the wild truth reeling but erect. In other words, at the end of the day, the truth always stands tall. And the eternal hopelessness present in Gnosticism or naturalism and many other worldviews fail to ground an eternal perspective that makes more of living life here on earth and not less. Chesterton also said, the tragedy of disbelieving in God is not that a person ends up believing in nothing. Alas, it is much worse. A person may end up believing in anything. It's easy to believe that what we can do can change who we actually are, but who you are is not visible. Your soul can never be altered, but it can be saved and regenerated. The human inventions of the day can never circumvent the eternal purpose present in and disseminated from God. See, unless God is in the paradigm or worldview, all of the things you've done will ultimately mean nothing. And at some point, many people realize this, such as Friedrich Nietzsche. God provides a foundation for life and for why life matters. God helps direct us in understanding that this life will have troubles and we will not be immune to them. We will age and we will eventually die. But for the believer, death is not a period, it's a comma. In the book, The Case for Faith, Lee Strobel is recounting an interview conducted with the theologian and philosopher J.P. Moreland, talking about heaven, hell, and issues pertaining to the afterlife. It reads, for those who don't know Christ, it should motivate them to redouble their efforts to seek him and find him. For those of us who know him, it should cause us to redouble our efforts to extend his message of mercy and grace to those who need it. And we need to keep the right perspective through it all. Remember that hell will forever be a monument to human dignity and the value of human choice. It is a quarantine where God says two important things. I respect freedom of choice enough to where I won't coerce people, and I value my image bearers so much that I will not annihilate them. Think of this. If you were told that whatever house you pick to live in, you have to stay in there forever. You can't move, can't change your mind. How long would you agonize over that decision? How about a car? Once you buy it, no changes, no takebacks. How many test drives would you do? How about which college to pick? See, the irony is that the decisions we make regarding all of those where to live, where to drive, where to learn decisions are not static decisions. And yet we still pontificate and ruminate over these decisions for weeks and for months. But some of us casually gloss over the decision about where we will spend all of eternity, as though it doesn't matter or because we think there is nothing to decide. And if that is the case, then so be it. But just like we visit different realtors and banks and houses, just like we test drive different cars, just like we visit different colleges and universities, shouldn't we do our homework to be certain that heaven and hell are not real and permanent destinations, or they are? And to be certain that we are meeting the criteria for heaven or are doing our best not to meet the criteria for hell. For those who are attempting to prolong their life here on earth, I encourage you to get to know the only one who can prolong your life forever. This understanding should also help the Christian to live in peace in a world that is often devoid of peace. God doesn't just save our souls, he redeems our minds and everything that makes us, us. I heard someone say once, don't let God change your eternity, but not your mentality. We need to live with purpose so that our eternity is spent celebrating what we did and not bemoaning what we could have done. For the believer, the eternal security that we possess should compel us to live incarnationally in the here and now, and to do so with true love and joy and with contentment in how God ages us and advances us in our purpose. The Apostle Paul writes, therefore, we do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 17. Yes, the fullness yet to come will be glorious, and we may very well be awe-stricken when we get there. But until then, we have a purpose to fulfill here. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. Your steadfast love, O Lord, endures forever. Do not forsake the work of your hands. See, the truth is that you and I have a purpose for being here now. But how we got here, as far as our conception, is irrelevant. But we must remember that our forever has already begun. The only question is where we will continue our journey after the life here on earth ends. And our purpose is for such a time as this. The role you and I play in advancing God's holy plan can only be played well if we adhere to what is true and live our lives accordingly. C.S. Lewis wrote in a piece entitled On Living in an Atomic Age. He was answering the question, how shall we live in an age where the atomic bomb is a reality? He says, in one way, we think a great deal too much of the atomic bomb. How are we to live in an atomic age? I'm tempted to reply, why, as you would have lived in the 16th century when the plague visited London almost every year, or as you would have lived in a Viking age when raiders from Scandinavia might land and cut your throat any night, or indeed as you are already living in an age of cancer, an age of syphilis, an age of paralysis, an age of air raids, an age of railway accidents, and an age of motor accidents. He also said, nothing is more likely to destroy a species or a nation than a determination to survive at all costs. Those who care for something else more than civilization are the only people by whom civilization is at all likely to be preserved. Those who want heaven most have served earth best. Those who love man less than God do most for man. I would like to end this video with a poem from Sarah Williams. Is it true, O Christ in heaven, that the highest suffer most? That the strongest wander furthest and more helplessly are lost? That the mark of rank in nature is capacity for pain, and the anguish of the singer makes the sweetness of the strain? Is it true, O Christ in heaven, that whichever way we go, walls of darkness must surround us, things we would but cannot know? That the infinite must bound us like a temple veil unrent, whilst the finite ever wearies, so that none's therein content? Is it true, O Christ in heaven, that the fullness yet to come is so glorious and so perfect that to know would strike us dumb? That if ever for a moment we could pierce beyond the sky, with these poor dim eyes of mortals, we should just see God and die. May we look to eternity, but with a focus on the present, so that we can arrive at our individual and collective ends. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think is behind this desire to stay or remain young? And what does an eternal perspective do for you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And until next time, peace.